Hello, everyone. It's me again. So we're going to continue the Draviduna, the science of the herbs today, with just diving a bit deeper into the different preparations, or as some people say, the galvanic changes that happens to a plant when we use different procedures to prepare it so that the customer and the patient is able to absorb them in the right way, on the right dhatu, on the right tissue base, or that it's modifying the aggravated doshas, so that the dushya, the place of the disease, might be modified. So there are many, many things that you have been learning so far about the gunas, which are very important. The gunas, the 20 gunas, they define then how the preparation should look like in order to counteract what is happening in the body. So I'd like to give you a little tour through the different preparations. The most common one that we use in our daily practice to give to the patient is the preparation as a churna. Here you can see this is Pipali churna. And for me, Pipali churna is one of the most magic preparations that we can use in our healing because it is pretty safe. So there are mostly no allergic reaction reported. And so for you, when you do your self-study, it is a very, very nice plan to do your deeper inquiry on how Ayurveda works on your body and what lifestyle changes might mean to you and your patient. Ooh. And as we said, it's always good to start with yourself because all the difficulties that you have to face, be sure that your patient will face the same, more or less. There are some people who just take it on very light and say, oh, that's not a big deal, you know. And then those are mostly the people that then come back with a complaint. Why is that? What's the guna? It's a Rajasic guna, right? And it might be also a Pitta personality. Oh, not a problem. I'm going to do that. And then what does the Pitta always do? Come back, say, that's not about me. You haven't seen me right. What would the Vata person do when they complain? I actually forgot to take it and it didn't work. And how much surprise can we then possibly be? And what happens to the Kapha person? Oh, I did it, but then, yeah, I really, really couldn't get on with that every day. So my answer mostly is that in Ayurveda, it is not allowed for us to treat the naughty patient. What does that mean, the naughty patient? So the naughty patient is a person who basically is not able or doesn't want to follow instructions of you. So why are we not allowed to treat the naughty patient? Because the naughty patient is not only damaging herself or themselves, the naughty patient is also damaging your reputation because they go back to other friends and they ask, oh, how did your Ayurvedic treatment go? And then the naughty patient answers, it didn't go well. Not telling that they didn't take the medicine, not telling that they forgot to take the medicine, not telling that they were not taking the medicine at the right time, not telling that they actually thought this is all rubbish. Yeah, but they put the blame on you. And what does that mean? It destroys your reputation and it also destroys, and that is even far more significant for us when we are Ayurvedic practitioners. It destroys the faith of patients who maybe just want to start. So beware of the naughty patient. Make sure that, and that's a significant word, that the compliance of the patient is strong, that the bond of connection between you and the patient is strong. And they also appreciate what you are giving to them, what you are offering. It's not only your time. It is not only to make some money for your own living. It is about you putting time aside to listen carefully, to think carefully, to really connect carefully. You're giving a part of yourself to the patient. That's why My professor, Dr. Ram Manoharji, always says, if you treat the patient, you will never stay sane. So about the churna does come as a powder. And this powder is prepared with different precautions, different decisions. So for some plants, the powder is made of the leaves. For some plants, they make the powder out of the stem. Some plants, they might just take the root. For instance, tagur, which is something like Asian valerian, just the root is taken. There's another plant called jatamosi. I also have some jatamosi here in this lovely container. Jatamosi is called the hair of the spirits of the ghost of your ancestors. It's a very, very, very fine powder. As you can see, it is almost like a dust. And jatamosi, the root is taken and it's very, very carefully prepared because it has to make sure that all the ingredients are not wasted. It's a plant that's almost extinct. So when we look at these root preparations, so that means they have to be dried first, they have to be then carefully desiccated, and then they will be normally ground in a stone mill. And still in India, mostly of that is done by hand. Yep. Why is that done by hand? Tell me your answers. It is done by hand because if you use a machine, the machine gets hot. And with the heat, the oxidization process starts. So a lot of these medical preparations still have to be done by hand. So for some plants also, they just might use the flower. And in some cases, like in ashwagandha, we use the whole plant. Also giloy or Triboloteresus, Guduchi, also we use the whole plant. With Brahmi, we use the leaf. Yeah, Shankapushpi, we mostly use the leaf and the flower. So when we look at the dravyas, the actions, when we look at the gunas, then we could easily also understand from the sense of nutrition that is applied here in the same way, that a root is creating more density, it has more nourishment, it has more kapha than a leaf or a flower. A flower normally is the lightest form, it is the most spiritual form, it is the most abundant form, and the least to control. With a root, it is quite easy because you just have to reduce the dosage. With a flower that has already penetrated all your manavaha shrotas, all the connecting pathways of your spirits. So beware of too much lightness, beware of too much vata and akasha in the sense of space and wind when you treat the patient and when you just start. So take something that is more controllable. The pipali is a very nice one because it's a fruit. So the fruit also, almost like the root, has a lot of nutrients. It is quite compact and it is much easier to control when you play with the dosage because it's not immediately spreading into your manavaha shrotas. It's more in your anavaha shrotas, which means the nutrition channel. Because also pipali, of course, we know, works on your agni. So that's the one preparation that we use, the churna. The other preparation I unfortunately don't have here with me, it is a pressed fresh juice. Why don't I have it with me? Because it's very difficult to get. In some Indian shops, they offer preserved amla juice. They preserve different other juices from fruit. And the juices are very nourishing. They're easy to consume for the patient who is weak, who is just recovering, for instance, from feverish diseases. But we do have juices in our countries. We don't necessarily have to use a juice. The other one I don't have here with me is an arishta. An arishta is an alcoholic preparation. Mostly we find bala as an arishta, we find ashwagandha as an arishta, because these are nice and warming and they're reducing the vata very strongly. So for the patient who is diminished in food, who just feels fragile, who is insecure, who has been through a traumatic event of disease, it is very nice to absorb. Of course, it's alcohol, so we have to be a bit cautious to whom we give it and what is the prescribed dosage that the people stick to it. They're very strong, but the effect is much faster than with any churna, because through the alcohol, also the agni is stimulated and therefore it can be absorbed much easier. So the arishtas are some kind of in the trick box when you feel you really want to get that patient to have a good compliance, because they see the result so quickly and so strongly. The other preparation I'd like to introduce you to, I have here with me, that's a typical Chyawanprash. Chyawanprash, there's a beautiful Netflix special from an Indian comedian called Virdas, where he talks about Chyawanprash. He says even Indian people are not sure why they actually eat it. Because it's kind of like, I personally love it. I just don't love it in the way that it's presented to me by my lovely professor Guptaji. So, but I first show it to you. So the Chyawanprash is a typical avaleha. An avaleha is a confectionate preparation of different herbs. In this case, you can see how many herbs and ingredients have gone into the Chyawanprash. The preparation of a Chyawanprash takes up to years, because each and every plant undergoes a specific way of treatment to absorb the best part of the nutrients. So some are cooked in oil, some are cooked in milk, some are cooked in water, some have been hydrolyzed, some have been just desiccated, some have been put into a kalka. So whatever the preparation of that particular plant was, then it is all put together into the Chyawanprash and again have been macerized, have been matured for a very, very long time in huge vessels. And if you have seen this once, you will never forget it. These vessels, they are like 5 meters wide. And then there's a person standing there the last 3-4 years just for you to prepare your Chyawanprash with a huge stick so it doesn't get burnt.